Just you wait to listen for the storm. Hear the difference in the wind. When dark clouds form and start to turn, I'll run again. Far away when the hurricane comes. When the dark clouds form and start to turn, I'll run again. Far away when the hurricane, oh, that old hurricane comes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dungeons and Disabled. My name is Steve Saylor. I'm going to be your game master for today. This one-shot is a daggerheart one-shot that I have called High Noon of the Dead. This is a brand new adventure for us here at Dungeons and Disabled, and I'm really excited to be able to play with y'all today. And I'll introduce my players in just a moment, but I figured I would at least do a little bit of housekeeping at first. If you would like to be able to listen to any of our previous adventures, even with some of the players that we have today, you can be able to go to dungeonsanddisabled.com to be able to listen or watch any of our previous one-shot or fun adventures. And if you want to be able to check out our store, you can be able to go and get actual Dungeons and Disabled merch. I'm wearing a Dungeons and Disabled t-shirt right now. You can be able to go to dungeonsanddisabled.store, or you can be able to click the link on our website. You can also search for us on YouTube or on any podcast platform of your choice to be able to subscribe to Dungeons and Disabled, like I said, either on YouTube or any podcast player that you like. All right, we are about ready to jump into High Noon of the Dead.
Give me chills.
The rain poured down the dusty desert town of Portal, Arizona. It was a hot rain, one that was so humid and warm that the raindrops felt warm as it hit your skin. Puddles began to form in the streets, mixing with the desert and making every step a wet, muddy mess. But that didn't stop the crowd from forming just outside the sheriff's office where the hangman's noose stood. The silent killer stood high above, looking down as if in judgment to all present. The sheriff steps out of his office and onto the boardwalk. He was a tad overweight, his posse chasing days long gone. To be honest, it was more dangerous chasing anyone, not with a swarm out there. The sheriff tugs at his belt to hoist up his sagging pants a little and adjusting his gun belt. He walks over to a support post with a clear view of the lynch post from the bag. He leans against it. The wood creaks a little as he rests his weight on it. The crowd gathers at the foot of the raised platform. Umbrellas or whatever rain covering they could find in hand to keep dry. The deputy joins the sheriff as they both spit on the ground in front of them. "Nice day for a hanging," the deputy said, attempting a joke. Sheriff mutters under his breath. "Is he ready?" "Ready as anyone could be to die," the deputy replied as he strokes his large beard. "Good. Let's get this over with." The sheriff straightens up. "Bring out the prisoner," he bellows towards the office. Sounds of chains is heard first as a pitiful-looking Dracona walks out in shackles, with another overweight deputy walks behind him. The prisoner was thin and frail. His skin, normally a bright green, was a faded pale color. In this state, he looked more animal than humanoid, as he had a wild look on his eyes that made him look like he was excited to die or didn't care. The two walked silently up to the raised platform and up the steps toward the small length of rope hanging from overhead. A man in black stood next to the tall, muscular gentleman stood on the opposite side of the platform. The prisoner was led to the stand on top of the trap door underneath the noose, while the muscular gentleman took the noose and wrapped it around the prisoner's neck, while the deputy unshackled the chains from his hands, but kept his feet shackled as it kept its tail from being used to attempt to escape. The man in black stepped forward, addressing the crowd for the first time. "Dear people of Portal, Arizona, today we enact what justice for wrongs done to the fine folk of this county. Justice is the only thing we have close to order in this God-forsaken land. It's what separates us from the soulless swarm beyond our walls. As appointed judge of the Cochise County, I ask, I told you to never come back here, the sheriff bellowed as he interrupted. The crowd looked back at the sheriff and then looked back at the prisoner to see his head rise to meet the sheriff's gaze, his yellow eyes blinking. What's that, Sheriff? You heard me. He stood up straight in an effort to look intimidating, but either it didn't work or didn't register in the prisoner's face. We all trying to survive out here, Sheriff. The prisoner smiled as he flicked his long tongue. By killing innocent women and children? It was me or them. I have no regrets. The judge stepped forward to stop this conversation. As I was saying, as judge of Cochise County, prisoner 4434, Mr. Peter McLaren, do you have any words before you leave this earth? McLaren, not dropping his gaze from the sheriff, speaks loud for all to hear. Yeah. Does anyone have any words for the devil? I'll be seeing him real soon. I can't wait to see you hang and then put a bullet to you to make sure you never return to this mortal plane. Sheriff replied back. The judge interrupted again. Very well, but the power invested in me, I, Judge Maxwell Sturgis, hereby sentence you, Peter McLaren, to death by hanging and bullet. May God have mercy on your soul. God is long gone, Judge, McLaren said again, not moving his gaze from the sheriff. The judge nods to the muscular gentleman who pulls on the lever to drop the trapdoor, leaving McLaren to drop and his body dangle while he struggled to breathe. The crowd clapped quietly as the life was leaving McLaren's body. His face wasn't one of shock as he gasped for air. It was contentment? One couldn't tell. Once his body stopped moving and the life left his eyes, now unblinking as raindrops hit his open corneas. A twitch of his hand, then his foot, then his tail, then a low gurgle escaping his mouth. While there was no life left in his eyes, nor his heart pumping blood into his veins, his body began to twitch and come alive, or should I say, unalive, and move as it had a mind of its own. This wasn't McLaren anymore. He was part of the swarm now. A click of the sheriff's gun hammer breaks the silence as he stepped forward from his leaning post and pointed his gun outward. With a loud crack of sound, a bullet escaped the sheriff's gun with a high velocity that no one saw the bullet at all except for the hole it made in McLaren's forehead, as the former body of Peter McLaren, once alive, became undead and then was no more. The crowd clapped quietly. It is to be said that nature has reclaimed the land since the Civil War. Once a bustling nation, yes, under siege from itself, unfortunately had a setback as the trauma that of the Civil War, where thousands upon thousands of men, women, and children died. Nature decided it was time to fight back. Hence the swarm grew and basically crept across the land. And those seeking solace out west were far and few between. They were trying to escape the swarm, trying to find some sort of what could be called paradise in this land, but not a lot could be found. We see a large snake slithering across the plains of Arizona. On top of it is a lone rider under the midday sun. Ellie, why don't you describe who your character for us, please?
On top of this rattlesnake, very large, but still slender. The rattlesnake is very much the colors of the earth, but somehow seems to have taken a little bit of copper into it that almost blends into the Arizona dust and ground. On top it is a furbach standing over 6 feet, with copper red, very curly, mixed with dark brown hair that's braided back. You see a dust jacket a leather dust jacket kind of floating out behind her as they move quickly. Dark, almost black horns and very prominent dark ears. While she seems to have a little bit of a smile on her face, seems to be like in her element, comfortable, keeping her eyes around what's going on, while she seems very comfortable on the back of this rattlesnake.
Okay. And you are currently in the desert of Arizona, and you've been you noticed about a mile or so back a tall pillar of smoke that now normally something like that would sort of signify that the swarm had been nearby and something burnt up and that was it. So normally it's kind of a sign to kind of stay away, but something inside kind of told you to check it out. And as you get closer, why don't you roll an instinct roll for me?
Okay, so this is both to remind myself, both our hope and our fear.
Yes.
And with my instinct on top. Okay.
Yes, correct.
I'm going to ask that same question probably a billion times.
All good. All good.
Okay, so I rolled with hope.
Okay.
I rolled a 16.
16 with hope. Okay. You can add you can give yourself an additional slot of hope. And I will say, as you're kind of like coming across the hill, you kind of see into like the small valley below, basically a large sort of field of tall grass, and the source of the smoke is coming from a toppled over covered wagon, and it doesn't look like there's any movement. The grass is basically flattened from people walking or running or what have you. It's definitely a sign of something happened to either a family or to someone traveling out in this area. It's not uncommon to be able to see covered wagons walking or going across the desert, but this is one of the rare times where you see basically one in this sort of state. What would you like to do?
Do I see around me since it's tall grass, do I see any grass that looks to be bent, like they've run away from the wagon, or anyone coming in? Or does it look like it's just the fire and just the wagon?
You can see that there is with the 16 of with hope, I think even just from looking down below from the hill, from the hilltop, you can see that there are basically kind of a flattened sort of grass that looks like would have been coming from the wagon, and a little bit more of a larger sort of mass of flattened grass, and then coming towards it, and then also leading away.
With a kind of lean down of my presence on getting much closer to the body of the snake, I'm going to do a little practiced hand tap to the snake. That's basically like, let's kind of go into stealth mode here. And I would like to go down a little bit closer, staying away from the tracks, seeing if I can get a better view and see if there's anyone that needs help.
Okay. All right. So as you get closer, and you start to notice that there is just things thrown about everywhere. There is what looks to be a horse on laying down on the ground, not moving. You see basically, like, you see a kind of a man in his 30s ish, lying on the ground, on his stomach. His leg is about 20 feet away from him. and one of his arms is also torn, but a few feet away from him as well. And the wagon is tipped over. That's what's currently burning, but you can see that there's some trunks, like steamer trunks, that are kind of and different sort of paraphernalia kind of strewn about. You can see that potentially there might be someone inside, but you have to get a little bit closer to take a look.
Pulling out my short bow, I'm gonna train and target the gentleman, and just kind of as stealthily as I can, as low profile as I can, because we've seen this before where someone's dead and they're not dead. So I'm just gonna kind of ready while we continue to slither a little bit closer.
Okay. As you do so, not too far from where you are, the somewhat silent creak of wheels is coming up across the hill. Seeing also a pillar of smoke, we see a mushroom sitting on top of a wheelchair. And Mike, why don't you describe what does your character look like as you're coming towards the same pillar of smoke?
So the camera, when you first see this mushroom, it pans onto what looks like some type of dark brown leather-like sombrero, some really just long-brimmed hat. And as you start panning out, see full view of this mushroom that seemed to look more like a human, bipedal, wearing a dusty brown poncho, and also have like a dark gray bandana tied around its lower half of their face, and you see their eyes that look like a blood orange, very contrasting of just the whole aesthetic of this mushroom. You see them, it looks like chaps, like these dried moss green chaps. And as you see this mushroom going over the hill, you realize that they're currently not on just 2 wheels, but 3. One's in the front, so it kind of looks like a elongated trike, like a motorcycle, as you would think. And as it's going up the hills, you kind of see like these little pieces of like dried fungus that trail off from the wheels, that look like, just fungus that never took root and just dried up and just shriveled up. And then you kind of pans up from the wheels, and you see that it's the mushroom that's actually growing onto these wheels to help propel it. And you pan all the way back, and you see that on the back of their chair, like on the backrest, it looks like a small little turret, which is actually a rifle that they use on their chair, which is a arcane framed wheelchair.
Okay.
This is they come from the Underborn. They are mysteriously primordial, so we don't even know how old they really are. You know that they're just old. Their skin, or what you think would be their skin, is kind of like a portobello mushroom that's really dark. And their name is Maiko Jordan.
Love it. So as you wheel up to the same scene that I described earlier, with the covered wagon on the ground, and you're kind of coming up from the east side, so you're seeing more of the covered sort of part of the wagon is facing you, You can actually see actually, you know what? Yeah, why don't you roll an instinct roll for me as well?
Instinct, okay. And that's both die and then add the instinct.
Correct.
Okay. I rolled 9 for hope.
Okay.
Actually, and then 10 total.
10 total. Okay. I would say you would have to get a little bit closer, but it looks like that there is a body lying down, or like at least a body on the ground, on the kind of closer to the like the back of the wagon, and his where he's sort of facing his basically where he's laying down, his head is pointing in sort of your direction. And so it looks like that basically he was either he was kind of when he died, or what looked like it could be died, like he fell forward, sort of facing your direction. But you also see a large furbog riding a snake, a large rattlesnake, coming up also close to the covered wagon.
Cool. Are we in like speaking distance of each other?
I'd say you're within, according to Daggerheart terms, you're within far range. So yes, if you want to kind of, you wouldn't be able to like say probably speak in your regular volume, but if you sort of shout a little bit,
I'm
they'll be
sorry,
hearing.
but like I'm just picturing Elle coming down, just going woo wait, like just being like, what the
Like
fuck?
sandy cheeks on a bulwark.
Me being as stealthy as possible and just doing,
That's your battle cry.
Love it. I love it.
oh,
So Mike, what do you do?
Well, I think to myself,
What a wonderful world.
this is not something that you see every day. Never
You've seen a furbog before. I don't
But
think you've
not
seen
the
one ride a
snake.
large snake before.
Yeah, the large snake is just so a little bit curious. Just trying to analyze this, and I approach cautiously. Get closer without less shouting distance. Maiko is more soft spoken, so very subtle. So it doesn't really like to project their voice or anything like. So I get close up too and kind of look at this furbog riding the snake and kind of just ask them, does snake have a name?
you hear a little bit of a rattle. Steve, do we see any movement with the sound?
No.
Tremba. Were you at the wagon?
No, I just came up over this hill and saw the stagecoach and saw that you were closer. So I was gonna ask you the same thing because it doesn't look like they're driving the stagecoach. I think the stagecoach is driving them.
You notice that Elwyn's not making eye contact with you. Her eyes are everywhere else, like looking as if she doesn't trust the situation. And not that she doesn't trust you, but this doesn't look like the first time she's come across something like this.
Can I sense if we're in any like danger? I have like I'm looking at my knowledge and it's like +2, but then it under it says like analyze and comprehend.
Yeah.
So like me just kind of coming in and very calm demeanor and more just asking about Ellen Snake versus what most likely looks like somebody that's dead on there. I'm kind of just a little nonchalant. Like it's kind of like I'm used to seeing death.
Right. So are you trying to be able to trying to analyze Elwyn or just the scene itself?
I want to be I want to make sure that, you know, just through the analyzation and seeing that Elwyn is hyper vigilant, you know, looking around for, like, and everything I kind of at least pick off on that, and I want to be able to say, you know, it doesn't look like we're in any danger, but you know, this is still a very odd situation.
Yeah, why don't you roll a knowledge roll for me?
Okay. And that's both plus
Both
my
plus your
knowledge.
knowledge, yep.
Okay. So 16 in fear.
16 with fear. Okay. I will take that fear. But don't but
the
that,
look on their face.
it is still a success. So I would say I think you can tell that basically whatever happened to this wagon happened not too long ago.
Okay.
But it looks like that Elwyn had just kind of came up around the same time as you did.
Okay.
So you're putting two together, you're analyzing the situation. It doesn't look like to you that Elwyn had been had what may have been the cause of whatever happened here, as far as you know.
Okay. And you say like ahead of us in our direction that we're going, there's like a town that's going over there.
The sort of the bit of flattened grass, the trail that it kind of leads toward is definitely in towards the closest town, which you would know is a town called Portal.
Okay. So I'm kind of just, you know, trailing alongside next to Elwyn, and you know, more ask a question. You know, I'm guessing you're going this way, right? Yeah. I'm guessing you're going the way that I'm going, and it's kind of like just where we're like moving forward, like obviously.
I don't have a direction. I just go wherever the ground takes me. Seems to be the same direction.
You know, I like.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
I like the way you think. Yeah. I'm hopefully, you know, this way that we're going has some water, and as I kind of mentioned that you can glance over and you could see there's like two cylindrical tanks that are like behind the chair that he's on, and you could tell that there's like a liquid in there, and notice that it's just water. And then you could kind of see these like lines that go from these tanks kind of go all the way up, and you can kind of see them go under like my bandana. And as like, you know, we're kind of just like trudging along, you kind of see the bandana moves a little bit, and you could tell that I have like, it's like feeding me the water essentially. So
Cool.
Yeah, so
Cool.
that kind of like gives you a little bit on there. So, yeah. And you know, and when I speak, it sounds like normal. It doesn't sound like watery or like I have a mask.
Cool. I will say it's also at this point that you hear a bit of rustling of the tall grass, and when you look into that general direction, you see a tall figure with holding a large staff and horns on her head, and kind of walking down the hill towards the scene. Liana, why don't you describe your character for us? What does Maiko and Elwyn see?
Okay. Precursor to this breaking immersion. This is my one character that I get to be bougie with, so I want no judgment.
By all means.
All my characters have been beer guzzling nobodies. I want a bougie character, damn it. I deserve this. So, what you see coming down is a baddie. She has got skin the color of a stormy sea that you can't tell if it's gray, ashy, blue. It's every color and no color all at the same time. And she has painted red lips that seem like they're in a permanent smirk. You just know she's a smartass. You know she's going to be insufferable, and it's okay because it is what it is. And she's got long, flowy black hair, but what's interesting is framing her luminescent lilac eyes are white eyelashes and white eyebrows, which is a stark difference to the rest of her demeanor. And what's interesting when people see her walking through places, she walks through places that she's not supposed to because she doesn't exactly fit normal standards. You know that she's kind of, you see off the top of like just looking at her, you can tell like she's kind of a bitch, but like it's fine. It's fine. And she's wearing like these leather, very worn, you can tell they're very hang onto a thread, leather pants tucked into black boots that you can't really see any discernible features. But what's interesting is she's wearing a shawl that looks like a shawl you would see on town, you would see on Sunday morning in the with the ladies. But it's this material that you can't really identify, and it's somewhat off-putting just because you don't notice that's what feels off. But it's a material that is blacker than black, like it almost like it takes in all of the light around it, and that kind of gives her this aura of you're not sure if it's an enemy or if it's somebody that could be a friend, but you're interested either way because she's walking right towards you, so you don't really have an option. And you notice too she has a couple of different belts slung around her waist with various pouches and weaponry, and some you see a large black whip on her hip as well, making a lot of noise. She's got a lot of moving components on her, so she's not as stealthy as possible, but still carries herself with grace, almost like she's not even walking, she's just moving.
Awesome. Okay,
I never go in this detail, man. I had fun
this is
with
great.
This one.
I love it. I love it. This is awesome. So, so you see down below again the same scene with the covered wagon, and you also see again a large furball riding a large rattlesnake and a little fungrel sitting on top of what looks like a trike wheelchair. And actually, I want you to roll also an instinct roll for me, please. So you roll. You basically take 2d12s and designate one as hope and one as fear. And then you add your, you roll both of them together, add them together, and then you add your instinct modifier as well.
All right, I rolled 1 hope, 6 fear.
Okay, I will gain that fear.
My instinct is 22.
22. Okay, 22 with fear then. Okay. So you definitely see the same kind of body that I mentioned earlier that was more kind of closer to Maiko, and you see a little bit more detail. It's of a boy, no older than 13, and he is torn to shreds. You see a rifle basically kind of laying on his side, but it's like you can tell just by you've seen death before. And you know also the cycles of life and death, and much like the cycles of day and night, that's how familiar you are, and you can tell that again. Yeah, this is not yet a man, but definitely older than a boy, and
not yet a man,
but definitely what looks to be torn by multiple things.
Okay, so I'm walking around. I'm my character is she's walking towards these two strangers. She kind of looks at Elle, smirks a little bit, like I haven't seen you before. Kind of a little crushy. Looking at Mike, And she doesn't say anything to Mike, but there's like a moment of recognition that she tampers out the second she can feel it on her face.
Mike, why don't you roll an instinct roll for me?
All right, we're at a 11 hope.
Okay, so add a hopes to your hope slots, but yeah, no, you don't notice anything out of the ordinary.
Moves on when she realizes that he doesn't know who she is. She continues on, circles the wagon 2 times very slowly, kind of getting on everybody's nerves just a little bit, because I'm not really saying anything. I'm kind of just acting like I've been here this whole time and I have every right to be here. I look at the wounds, I look at the body, and it's funny because the wounds look very physical. Like if somebody with an untrained eye looked at this, they would just think it was an animal attack. They would think something horrible, maybe they lost control or anything. But when she's looking at his wounds, there's almost like her instinct is telling her that there's this like magical undercurrent where it almost feels like the wounds are alive. And so she looks at the wounds further, trying to see is this just leftover magic? Is there something bigger going on here? She crouches down and then looks up at the 2 companions, almost expectingly, not saying anything, just with a look in her face like, are you going to contribute?
Oh, and Micah, what do you do?
So, I look, over at this. You're an Infernus, right?
Basically, like a tiefling-looking like character, Liana.
Right,
That's what you're
horns.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what they look like.
Yep. That's
All you know, they have really pretty glowy eyes.
Yeah, in Daggerheart they call essentially tieflings Infernus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that.
And so, what are you doing with the body again?
Are you saying this out loud, or are you?
Just a recap.
Just you saw me like circle around just to look at the peripheral of the wagon, and then you saw me crouch down and examine the shredded wounds that are across his body.
I look over and I calmly say, if you want, we can have them explain to us. Knowing that they're not alive, but they've like recently died. As a fungrel, I have this thing called Death Connection. And it says, while touching a corpse that died recently, you can mark a stress to extract one memory from the corpse related to the specific emotion or sensation of your choice.
Okay. Actually, before I have you do that.
Okay.
Why do I feel like we're already messing up your campaign?
No. This is before you do all that. Caspia, you've been watching this the whole time. You've been under the height of the tall grass. You've been watching this scene for probably about an hour. You crept on this scene first. You didn't know. You didn't see what happened, but you've been watching now 3 individuals come up rather cautiously. One maybe just nonchalantly, just walking towards a dead body and looks down at it. Why don't you describe yourself as you are peeking in the tall grass?
All right. I am crouching to make myself as little as possible. My body is very small and petite. And since I am a Qatari, I have a lot of cat-like features. And you can tell that I was probably the runt of the litter. I seem smaller than the normal Qatari. My fur is dark gray, almost nearly black, which makes me easily hiding in shadows. You can tell that in my attire, it's very, very bland, very simple, almost camouflaged in with my fur. I have, on top of my armor, I have a long black cloak to help me conceal myself when I need to. My eyes are dark emerald green and is the only color that radiates from my body. I am a quiet creature, as you can tell, since I've been sitting here for an hour watching this unfold in front of us. I like to observe my surroundings and analyze what's going on before I take any action or talk to any people. I am someone who likes to work alone. So seeing 3 people in front of me automatically made me hyper aware of what was happening around me.
Speaking of being hyper aware, why don't you also roll an instinct roll for me?
Okay.
Actually, I'll allow you to be able to do an instinct or knowledge because you've been watching this whole scene for about an hour. You can basically analyze. So up to you. If your instinct is higher or your knowledge is higher, you can roll either or.
My instinct is higher.
Okay.
So I will do that. Oh dear. So hope 4, fear 2. So, and then with the +2, it's 8 total.
Okay. So what was it? You rolled higher on fear?
On hope.
On hope. Okay. So you actually gain a hope slot.
Okay, that's good. I barely made it.
So I will say that the kind of because you haven't been able to sort of creep closer, because you know that the swarm just kind of like it's like an oncoming storm. You can't predict it, but you know that there are you could see evidence of like a storm's wake essentially. And you've been watching this scene for a while, expecting essentially the effects of the swarm to be kind of seen or known, but for about an hour, nothing has happened. You don't see any the bodies haven't moved in all that time. None have twitched, none have moved. The horse that you saw kind of like off in the distance is just like you could see its stomach basically just wide open. That's in it does not look good. I was trying to think to describe it all, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna keep it
fucking nasty. Okay?
It is fucking nasty. It is fucking nasty. If I want to add an extra A in there, it could be nasty. Okay,
You're Raven Simona. You're nasty.
You're nasty. So, but that's kind of all you've been able to gather. This to you looks like, from this distance, a swarm attack. But you haven't been able to creep closer to investigate. But okay. What do you do?
Am I able to get closer without being seen by the 3 people who are investigating?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yes. Let me just pull up the iPad. I did not want to work while play letters. Hold on. Yes. Why don't you roll? Hold on. I apologize, everybody. I'm trying to be able to bring up the rules.
You're fine.
This is what you get when basically you're trying to be able to use your iPad as all of your.
That's what I really like about this, though, is it's such a new universe and a familiar structure, but still a new universe. And so, anybody watching that's just interested in what Daggerheart is, I feel like it's important to see this because it's a lot of us grew up with D&D. A lot of us grew up with these universal rules that we kind of all understand collectively, but this is something so new and it's so malleable too, that I think it's cool to see that process too
yeah. And I'm still new to Daggerheart, so I'm still learning this as well. So yeah. So I think for you, Caspi, why don't you roll a finesse check for me? This will be to see how well you can be quiet or be stealth, as it were.
Okay, so hope is 12, fear 4, total is 17.
Okay, so 17 with hope. Yeah, I think you're able to creep a little closer. You basically have been far, like when Daggerheart, you're considered far distance, but you're able to creep up to relatively close. So without anyone else noticing you. So you're still kind of hidden in the tall grass, but now you're at a point where you can actually be able to hear the conversation a little bit more clearly. And we'll actually say we'll go back to Mike, because you said you wanted to be able to do what was it, commune with the dead a little bit.
Yeah, it says basically I touch the corpse that died recently, I mark a stress, and then I get to extract one memory from the corpse related to a specific emotion or sensation of your choice. What does that last part mean?
Essentially it's like you can sort of, you get to kind of experience the memory of the deceased, of the corpse, and you also
Like
get to feel what emotion that they are feeling in that moment.
Okay.
Can Mike control he specifically wants to look at that last memory before he died? Can he do that, or is it just whatever's the strongest comes forward?
Whatever the strongest kind of comes forward. So okay, so you can mark a stress. I don't think you need to roll for that. That is one of your abilities. So describe how you sort of not necessarily reanimate the corpse, but how do you be able to sort of reach down and be able to try to bring out a memory?
So, I look at the other two and kind of start, outreaching my hand, and you could kind of see like my fingers start to extend a little bit more, as if like the fungus is kind of growing a little bit more, and I kind of outreach to them, and I said, I'm not going to hurt, I'm not going to cause any more harm. I just want to see what happened. And so then, kind of let me, and as soon as like I basically just make contact with this recently passed teen, I am just filled with fear and like dread, like the hopelessness of being possibly the only one left, and trying to kind of like get out, like, and escape, because you wanted to warn what was coming, and kind of just as soon as I feel that, if what felt like minutes really was just like an instant, and I kind of retract back and kind of explain what just happened. That
I'll even say, to kind of add to this, you also do get a visual of sort of the perspective of this boy. You see, again, you feel that fear, you feel that dread. You can feel actually your heart actually pump faster when the adrenaline starts to fill your body, as the boy is you can see through his eyes, he's running towards the wagon to grab a rifle, and as you look inside, you see, because you are feeling the last memory of this boy, you see his mom and his little sister inside. And as you turn around to be able to face what's been chasing you behind you, everything goes black.
I got a question. Are you like visibly like shaken up after this encounter?
Yes. Kind of like you kind of visibly see me kind of huffing a little bit more. Like this is a feeling that I haven't felt in a very long time, that it kind of just brought, like, associated with other things that maybe traumas that I've had before. That's what it felt like, and it felt like I kind of and it felt like it was only it was only a short amount of time that y'all saw me kind of like making contact, and then being able to tell you the visuals of what happened. And
Can I roll a persuade or a presence check?
mm,
Because I hear him come out.
Mhm.
His voice is a little bit shaken. It's a quieter. On one hand, I'm annoyed. Like, just get to it. Just tell us if you've got this power, use it. Like, why are you wasting our time? But on the other hand, there's a small part of me that connects to you, and I just want to make you feel better. And so I would like to put my hand on his shoulder and roll for presence. For my strong points, it is you can use presence to use a charm or to control tense conversations or emotions.
Mhm.
So I'm going to do that now.
Yeah, go for it. I love this. You dictate what I get to do. I'm like, this. Yeah, sure, yeah, absolutely, yeah, go for it. This is great.
I rolled 8 hope, 1 fear, 10 total.
10 total. Okay, so you get to mark a hope on your character sheet. You get to add additional hope. And I'll say, what do you say to try to calm Maiko down?
I don't say anything. He just feels my hand on his shoulder, and there is just this warmth that goes all the way down to his feet, or to where his roots are connected. And I will let you decide how that makes you feel. But I can tell in that moment, it was an instant relief before you kind of realized, why do I feel differently all of a sudden?
I will say this, Mike.
mm-hmm.
What you feel, you definitely feel that sense of relief. You feel your heart calm down. Feel the adrenaline, that fight or flight mode start to dissipate. And as much as you feel that moment of relief, you feel a tiny element of familiar fear. Just for a moment. And then it goes away.
Mm. Yeah, so as I'm kind of coming down with this intense feeling that we got, the memory that we got from this dead teen, it's overrun with this jolt from when you placed your hand on my shoulder of another intense feeling that, as you could see, that like my roots, or just my body was just, it looks like a whole bunch of roots that were just tangled up and tense, and then all of a sudden you could almost, it's like when like rope is like twisted and you hear the tension of the rope, you can see and visibly see like a relaxation of that, like the fibers and like what my body looks like.
I would say like you can even like same with that sort of that sound when rope gets tightened and pulled into a knot. You could like that same sort of sound comes from tendrils from your body that tense up a little bit, but then release. And do you explain what you saw in the memory?
Yeah. Basically, Maiko, I've seen this and felt this fear before, and there's something really bad that's on its way. And where we're all heading to right now, I think we're ahead of it to where we can possibly warn of the danger that's coming.
I would say you hear this, Caspia. Is there anything you would like to do? You're still currently hidden. You hear Maiko explain this, this mushroom explain this memory, and also of what he saw. And yeah, what would you like to do?
After I see Sharvani put her hand on Maiko, while I don't often trust or like to work with people. There was something about that interaction that made me feel like I could trust these people, at least to the extent that I was safe to reveal myself. So I step out from where I was hiding and I ask, what's going on here? How is there something I can do to help?
Oh, look, a kitten.
And as I reveal myself, you all can see that while I do seem to be on the younger side, while I have very beautiful fur, you can see that I have wounds, small wounds, scars. I have little notches taken out of my ear that I've obviously seen some things and been through some things and have walked away with some battle scars. I'm gonna say I might look like a kitten, but I can handle anything that comes my way. So what can I help with?
Kitten with claws, even better.
I think we're dealing with the leftovers of an attack. I'm not sure if there's still any presence, but as per usual, we're seeing the devastation.
Mike, why don't you roll another instinct roll for me?
Okay. Let's see. Okay, 14 on fear.
Okay, I will grab that here.
I always hate it when it's more than fear.
So
11.
you instinctually, given the pardon the pun, you look into the wagon for the first time after experiencing this memory, and you look inside and you see trunks, like steamer trunks and boxes and burlap sacks and like things kind of like strewn about. And you also see a ravaged body of a woman with a white, now stained with blood, tunic and a plain gray dress torn to shreds, and she's holding a toddler in her arms. And also, Shivani, why don't you roll an instinct roll for me? Because you are kneeling down towards the body of the boy.
Oh, 26, 12 hope, 12 fear.
Oh,
That's a
so
crit?
that is actually a crit. So anytime you roll doubles on both the hope and the fear die, that's an automatic critical success. So you actually got the ultimate critical success with two, literally with the 12 and the 12. But also, technically, if you ever roll to double ones, that is also technically a critical success too. So anytime you roll doubles on the die. So okay, so you actually, because you are knelt down towards the body of the boy. And you hear this Qatari asking for help, and you're now kind of surveying the scene at a closer distance, and you see Elwyn also kind of like looking everywhere and surveying, just to kind of keeping an eye out of the surrounding outside of this scene that you're in. You look down towards the boy, and hidden. This is because of critical success. This is the only way to do this. You would have had to roll. I will say this: the DC was 24 because you rolled 26. Hidden in the grass, you find a Bowie knife, and this Bowie knife has it's got blood on it, and it's got on the hilt very fine filigree. It basically is. It was.
I'm from America. What does that word sound? We don't have
basically like a bunch of like it has like a kind of gold inlaid gold etchings and kind of swooping and swirling like circles and kind of think of it as like sort of like a flowery sort of like inlaid into the flowers kind of inlaid into the knife. And as beautiful as this Bowie knife looks, you can tell, again, with this 26 critical success, you can tell this is almost far too expensive of a knife to be owned by this meager of a family. You also look closely at the hilt of the knife, again, with this fine, like fancy looking hilt. You see crudely etched hash marks into the hilt, and it's a total of seven hash marks on the hilt, and you realize for the first time this was not a swarm attack. This was made to look like a swarm attack. And that's where we're going to end this episode of the Dungeons Disabled adventure, High Noon of the Dead. Come back next time for the part 2.
I was like on the edge of my seat. I was like, what happened? What is it?
Part 2 of Dungeons and Disabled, a High Noon of the Dead. We'll see you all very soon. Bye, everybody.